Sounds better.
We don't have to. Yeah.
Lady voice.
Oh, are we doing the clapping? Does it matter?
No, because we just have the one microphone and we're not syncing with any video. So,
yeah. YouTubers
yeah,
will do
we're
that.
good.
Like,
and yeah, just like feel comfortable to say anything because we can splice it, we can cut something out, rewind. So just be comfortable, just speak. We can make it pretty later if that's what needs to be done.
okay, I'm gonna start the stopwatch.
Okay.
Hello, this is Brain Sick. I'm Lydia.
Hello, I am Andrew.
My name is Alita.
And we're doing this podcast about people with sick brains, yeah?
Pretty
With sick brains.
So we're just gonna cover some like famous people, some characters, stories, whatever, and focus on mental illness. So, I am starting off this whole thing with the one that I think we had to start with.
Of course.
Of course, Vincent Van Gogh.
Van Gogh.
Stop.
Who arguably we're all big fans of.
I don't know anyone who isn't.
Idiots.
Exactly.
There's probably a lot of people that know the paintings and don't know the person, though. Right? Which is why
That's
it's
true.
like, especially the like, biography of the person.
It's true. There was that movie that came out. What's his face?
Oh,
Green Goblin.
yes.
Willem
From the original The Best
best.
Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire and
Hopefully
whoever
we're not
played Green
offending
Goblin.
anyone. You
Whatever.
know,
I hope we are.
Me too.
But that guy, he did the most recent. It was like a biography. I think it was focused on his years when he was losing it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Okay, so I guess I'll just go over kind of like his background when he started feeling sick, when it really goes crazy. I don't know, is that an okay word to use? Are we going to use the word crazy?
Oh, we didn't think about the logistics of the sensitivity of this topic.
I think it's okay.
Think it's okay? If we offend anyone, we don't mean to, and me and Alita have mental illness, and
Yes.
so
We're not trying to put them
We're not-
down.
no.
We're just yeah. No,
we're just
good.
talking
Yeah.
about
We're
it.
good.
We're doing the best we can. If we offend or say something that
Let us
doesn't
know.
sit well, yeah,
Let
just
us know.
let us know and we'll do better next time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, so let's kick this off. I took this article from the American Journal of Psychiatry, so it's legit. So here's his back. So the interesting thing about Vincent is that he is attributed with bipolar disorder, which I thought was cool because I have bipolar disorder. And I was like, yes, because I love him.
Represent.
Yeah. So, but I think they don't have an actual definitive diagnosis because this was back in like the 1800s.
Was bipolar like identified itself at that point, or was it
I don't know
just
actually.
okay?
Because we'll get there. We'll get there. Okay,
Okay.
so let's start off. So he was the oldest of I think 6 kids,
Jeez.
and it was either 5 or 6. And so there's no history of mental illness in his family that's documented, so we don't know. But he had this early brain injury, probably at birth. I don't know if he was like dropped as a baby or what, but that's why his I don't know. But that's why his face, like when you look at it, it's kind of asymmetrical. So I think it's because
Got a
of
little
this.
squished.
Yeah,
Like
a
if you
little
think
bit.
of that one like pretty famous self-portrait, and it's kind of just like,
It's a little. Sometimes it's like, oh, is that how he just viewed himself too? Maybe. But he definitely had some asymmetry going on. And the funny thing is that it's kind of funny. It's kind of sad. He wanted to become a pastor, so he pursued this relationship, very rejected. So he wanted to become a pastor, but he was like too nice. Like he gave away all his stuff and everything. Like,
how generous.
yeah, but they're just like, this is not what clergy should be. And so they had to let him go. So I
How
guess
so? Like, why wasn't it what?
they wanted him to be in an elevated status, and I think he was too close to the people.
Oh.
So, yeah. So then he was depressed. He became a socialist and an agnostic. So I think he was pretty upset.
Bit of a leap.
Yeah.
Big changes for good old Vinny.
Yeah, he really was figuring it out. So at 27, he made that commitment to be an artist. What was really nice is that he, from the get-go, he wanted it to be, like, for the people. So he created art to make people happy or to feel things. So it was just, like, that carried on with him regardless.
It's weird that there's like this kind of like, there can be this kind of like religious like sentiment like against like art forms, but it's like he was pushed to that because they didn't want that kind of attitude.
Oh, so it's almost the
Like
completely opposite. Is that what you're saying?
It's like a like a
Paradigm? Paradox?
I don't know the word I'm looking for, but yeah, it's interesting to think about.
Yeah, well, no, just like that the church was just not
Accepting.
because they wanted to keep their kind of like authority there, and he wouldn't have played ball with the kind of power games, right? Mm-hmm. And so he became like the church's own worst enemy because they didn't want him, right?
No, I mean, you're talking about the socialism and the agnosticism.
Oh, definitely in terms of that.
I don't think the agnosticism is something strong against the church. I mean, we can agree on that.
I feel like his painting wasn't necessarily like a FU to the church.
I guess.
But I don't know.
I understand what you're saying in terms of like it's like a group of people or like a movement. Like the art movement is a movement that like went against the church and
just like on a broader time scale, like there used to be this kind of idea of like the only kind of iconography you should be viewing or creating is like the like
Jesus.
religious canon,
God-related.
right?
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Oh, yeah, maybe. Thank you. Okay, cool.
Did he like was he exposed to the arts as a child or like did he?
I was gonna have the article. Okay, give me a second.
Yeah,
I do.
because I wonder if that contributed to his choice too.
Yeah, I think he definitely had an inclination before he decided. But I don't know for sure. Why he wanted, though, to become a pastor is because his, I think, dad and grandfather were pastors. So he wanted to kind of carry on that. But yeah, he was very upset. So, yeah, okay. Then, so there's another figure in his life who, or not another, but the major kind of person he was connected to his entire life was his brother Theo, who really just supported him, was there his entire life, no matter what was going on. His brother Theo was there. And so, for Van Gogh, he tried to become romantically entangled with his cousin.
I thought you were gonna say his brother.
Me too. They're real close.
Please no. And so I guess that was fine for the time. But so he got rejected again, and then he lived with a prostitute and her 2 children for over a year. But that really, his family was not happy about that.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Was he like romantically involved with her or just like hanging out?
Nah, I think there's definitely some romantic ties. So, but I think that's why his brother became such a strong... I actually don't know for sure, but I think it's because his brother stayed in contact while his family was just like not into it. Okay, so the next section was Paris, the onset of illness. This is 1886 to 1888. This is late 1800s. And he joined his brother Theo for 2 years in Paris, and he met Paul Gauguin. I think that's how we're pronouncing it. Gauguin. He's also another artist. And this is when he started feeling, that said that he experienced sudden terror, epigastric sensations, which I meant to look up, but I never did.
Gastric? Like he was...
Epigastric.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Here, I'll do a quick Google search. Keep talking.
And then lapses of consciousness. While other people noticed a hand spasm, an odd stare, and a confused state. Mm-hmm. So I think he was feeling definitely off. I think, I'm wondering, panic attacks.
And that kind of fits into that like bipolar like onset timeline.
Yeah,
right.
I
He's
think
in his
so.
20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, a little bit into like maybe late 20s, early 30s. Yeah, and so I think he was already feeling these symptoms, and then he started drinking, and that really just set things off
Epigastric pain. Oh no, it just disappeared. Okay, epigastric pain is a name. This is from gponline.com. Or no, sorry, it's from Healthline. Epigastric pain is a name for pain or discomfort right below your ribs in the area of your upper abdomen, and symptoms can include heartburn, bloating, and gas.
Yeah, okay.
So like fun times,
Okay.
just with your digestive system, you know.
Maybe he was lactose intolerant.
Maybe.
Oh, you can feel that pain. Can relate.
The booze probably didn't help with that. He's the absinthe.
Yeah, he really went for it.
It's absinthe.
That's the really heavy, like...
It's not good.
What is it? They said it's, like, it causes distortions and hallucinations and stuff.
Ooh.
There's an episode of Bob's Burgers where where Bob is in the kitchen. It's a Thanksgiving one. And his family is being used by his landowner as his family to like make another lady. I don't know. Okay, that's not the point. Anyway, he's in the kitchen by himself, and he's like upset that his family isn't there with him because he loves Thanksgiving, and so there's absinthe, and he just drinks it, and like the turkey comes to life, and he names him. God, what does he name him? Lance. He names him Lance. I looked this up the other day.
Oh my god. Oh, that's wild.
Very concentrated liquor.
Okay, yeah, that's the only.
It's like 100%.
That's all I know.
Good stuff. Good shit.
Yeah, okay, so I think it's because he was in Paris and a lot of those people were drinking it. So, it's like...
Damn French.
What if he hadn't gone to Paris? Would he have triggered as much? Because it sounded like he had some symptoms, but then...
He dropped on the head.
Yeah.
So we got that going for him.
It's really rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, that triggered some untidiness. He was quarrelsome. He had a major temper, and he had arguments with his brother all night, which is a huge sign for mania. If you're not sleeping, then that just feeds into the whole state of mind, and it's a big, what's the word? Symptom, yeah. So his brother, Theo, described him as two different people. One as marvelously gifted, tender, and refined, and two, egotistic and hard-hearted, which made himself his own enemy. It's kind of sad. That must be really hard to watch.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you've had experience.
Yeah.
Seeing
Fun
me.
fact, I am Lydia's younger sister.
Yeah.
We are, 6 years apart?
Mm-hmm.
And so when Lydia was first kind of experiencing her bipolar symptoms when she was in her
Teens.
yeah, mid to late teens, 16, 17, I was a little fifth grader.
Yeah.
And so I witnessed a lot of strange symptoms that it was interesting too, because like me and my parents all justified it as she's
Being
a teenager, mood swings and hormones and all this stuff changing, and so we didn't really understand the severity of the situation for a long time. But yeah,
I mean, I didn't even either.
yeah,
So
no
one
of us
really knew what was going on.
No one knew what was going on.
Yeah.
I just remember thinking, dang, Lydia's so irritable. In the mornings, I was like, she does not give us a break.
Yeah.
It's I know I'm annoying, but not that annoying.
I know, I feel really bad, looking back. But also a lot of it's really fuzzy, too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of hard. I know, that's why it's interesting to me hearing other, family members' experiences of what happened, because I don't remember a lot of it.
Definitely.
We can always get into that later.
Yes.
So poor Vincent, he is having a hard time. And so he leaves France. At this point, he's accomplished but not recognized. It seems like a very thin line. I'm not totally sure what they mean by that. But sounds like he just kept drinking. He didn't like being sober. And so whenever he was feeling a lot of emotion, he just threw himself into painting. And he alternated between creativity and listlessness. It sounded like he was really cycling.
Like mania, depression.
I think
we're
so.
gonna follow that.
Yeah, if we're gonna follow the bipolar, which is also a huge thing. I mean, that's why it's bipolar. And so I wonder how long the episodes lasted, because you could be like rapid cycling, or it could just be full on like months of bursts of creativity and then months of being completely out of it. So I don't know about that, but he was definitely exhibiting rage, lack of sexual arousal, feeling faint, had a lot of physical symptoms, but he was still devoted to creating art for other people. So even through all this crap, he was like, for the people. Which is, I love that. I really love that. And then, okay, so this is when things get really, really intense. So remember Paul Gauguin from before? Mm-hmm. His artist friend? He came to live with Vincent he came to live with Vincent as like a roommate, but he could only last 2 months. He was just not having a good time. And when Gauguin told Van Gogh he was leaving, Vincent, do you know?
Maybe. Continue.
Okay. So Vincent throws absinthe in his face, or in Gauguin's face, and then follows Gauguin with a razor and says he was repelled, which I guess he like fought him off. So Vincent goes home and then slices off the earlobe.
Okay, yes. When you were talking about Gauguin only lasting 2 months and stuff, it like made me think of like the ear incident, and I was like, wait, is this connected somehow?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
This is how it happened. And I always grew up thinking he sliced off his entire ear.
But it's just the lobe.
It was just like half of the lobe.
Oh, I also thought it was the entire ear.
He probably would have died if he did that.
I
don't know if he tried. I mean,
considering like the medical technology of the time, it probably would have gotten really badly infected. Like, I think losing your ear itself, like, it's not a vital organ, yeah, but like it would leave a lot of you exposed. While this is just like flesh, like it's like.
Oh, and what's interesting is he quote presented it to his favorite prostitute. Unquote.
Not to Gauguin.
No, to his favorite prostitute.
The earlobe.
The earlobe. And so what's interesting about this?
You're looking for a romantic
always listening
for your partner.
He's on his knee offering his ear, and so what they brought up was that the incident might be related to a bullfight ritual where the matador presents the cut off ear of the dead bull to his lady of choice. Mm-hmm. So that was probably what was going through his head when he did that, which is cool. Not cool, but like
it makes sense. Definitely.
Yeah, it makes it make sense. And so he was found unconscious at home, then was hospitalized, and he had acute psychosis with agitation, hallucinations, delusions. He needed solitary confinement, and he also tried to like eat paint and lamp oil. And they said it was kind of like suicidal.
Were they feeding him enough?
I hope so.
Oh goodness, I've seen posts like Van Gogh tried to eat the color yellow because it would make him happy. Like, oh, that's so cute. And I'm like, that's literally poison, but
he's trying to kill himself.
I guess that's cute. Let's romanticize that.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that too, and I was kind of like, oh, that's really sad, but also kind of a sweet idea.
It is beautiful in a way.
In a way. But I didn't know the full story behind it. So it was cool going through all of it and fully understanding what was going on. I mean, not that we will fully understand, but kind of getting more of the picture.
Yeah.
So he was diagnosed with epilepsy and was prescribed potassium bromide, which I don't know exactly what that will do. But he helped him recover from his psychosis, and that's when he painted that self-portrait with the ear, the bandage. So that's when that came about. But apparently they didn't tell him to stay away from absinthe.
Or he just
didn't.
Or they did.
And he was like, yeah. And
it's like, sure. Like, gives him a good wink.
Went right back at it. So he had 2 more psychotic episodes with brief hospitalizations, and then this made me sad that he was taunted by adolescent youths, by the boys, and then he was involuntarily hospitalized. So I guess they had that back then. But then he voluntarily entered the asylum at St. Remy in May 1889, and stayed there for a whole year.
Is he still in France at this point?
He left.
Oh, okay.
So he's in Provence. I don't know where that is. And I don't know where Saint Remy is. But I don't think it's France.
Okay.
I'd have to look. But
I'm sorry if you mentioned that, and
oh, no, I didn't.
Oh, well, then that's good to know.
That's all good. And I remember learning about him being at an asylum, but I didn't really know where that fit in with him cutting off his ear, or
the timeline.
Yeah. So he stayed there for a whole year. He had 3 psychotic episodes with amnesia, which I guess is common. I don't know if that's common.
With
but
psychosis?
yeah. That's how I experienced it. So I'm not sure. I don't want to make a blanket statement, but that's how I experienced psychosis, which is... so he continued with ingesting paint, lamp oil, turpentine. Poor guy. And
whole cocktail.
Yeah. He stuck with the epilepsy diagnosis, but he didn't take his meds. So, but in this time period, he produced about 300 art pieces, including Starry Night. So he painted Starry Night in the asylum, in the hospital.
On turpentine.
I don't know.
Is that the key to creativity?
Turpentine, paint oil.
I mean, it's impressive. He's like just functioning, just like physically functioning.
Yeah, that's true.
And able to do that much.
I wonder how much of his painting happened while he was manic.
Right.
And how much it was kind of evened out. Because it seems like spread out throughout his year. It's 300, but like how much of that was in bursts.
Right.
If he did like, I don't know, 100 in a couple months and then nothing in the next couple months.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. So, his last psychosis was from February to April of 1890, which sounds horrifying. That's like months of straight.
2 months of psychosis. So you don't, like... What would that be? Would that be hallucinations? And
Terrifying hallucinations, severe agitation.
Jeez.
And there was a religious content to them, which I also experienced, which probably... I assume stemmed from like
religious background.
Yeah.
Which makes sense given he was trying to be a pastor and that's interesting.
So it just kind of came out through his subconscious maybe. But I remember it saying that he was upset that they were religious because he was so pissed at the church. So he didn't like having that. And so
They're always in his head.
Yeah. This leads to his suicide. And the thing was so throughout all of this, his brother Theo was unfailingly supportive. And what happened was when something happened socially for him, like he got engaged, he got married, he had a baby, at each of those points, Vincent felt very threatened.
Right.
Yeah, and very kind of, didn't know if he was going to leave him or abandon him. So he was very, like, tied to that. And apparently his physician said he was cured in May of 1890, which is confusing. So
cured of epilepsy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though I think that was like right after his long psychosis. Yeah. But he stopped drinking. So that was good. And he had no seizures or confusion. It's like, go figure. And his art was gaining recognition, but then Theo's health was failing. And Vincent started feeling like he was a burden. And then in 70 days, he painted 70 paintings and 30 drawings. So that's the burst. That's... And an expression of sadness and extreme loneliness was seen in his drawings and his art. And so then he went into a field and shot himself in the lower chest, upper belly with a rifle and died 2 days later. So that didn't kill him immediately, but he died 2 days later with his brother by his side, which is also like very bittersweet. And then his brother passed 6 months later from his own illness. And so, something they really wanted to, in this article, to emphasize was how much Van Gogh had strengths and was very lucid when he wasn't in these manic state, or like in his episodes. So it was like, we think of him as this artist who is always plagued by like whatever,
like his like inner demons.
Yeah,
this deep depression, and I don't know, like the world didn't treat him well.
But he most of the time though he was okay.
Yeah, like it was in episodes.
Yeah.
So like he had, it was very like very drastically different kind of states. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I thought it was nice that they pointed that out. We're highlighting that. And that he was creative until death. And he drew and painted from nature. And that had an influence of emotional and spiritual intensity. You can see that in his art. Yeah. So
definitely,
that's Vincent van Gogh.
I wanted to talk about some of the paintings.
Yeah.
I think that it's not as kind of, I think kind of in line with that idea of kind of painting like to express and for other people. Like it almost didn't seem like there was much like self-expression mostly in those paintings. Like you don't really get the read on like, things like bipolar. I don't feel with most of the work. I think the one that really does kind of look like that is the At Eternity's Gate. It's the one that the Willem Dafoe movie is named after.
I thought it was at Heaven's Gate.
It's a little different.
Okay.
That's a fun little quote with a really interesting and terribly done website from like 2005.
That's all you need.
Is that 2005 though?
I don't know, but like the format of the website, it's like it's like graphic design is my passion.
I'm looking at that in church.
Nothing but productive on our Sunday sermons.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you were saying.
At Eternity's Gate. It's the one where I
recognize that.
He's sitting in the chair. He's very blue. It's like he's just wearing the blue outfit, but it's that kind of contrast.
Like bent over almost.
Oh, the man's just curled over and sobbing. But he's in such a warm, kind of vibrantly colored room that it's
you
like...
You see the fire next to him.
Like touching him, and like you get like the red to blue. Like you can see like...
The atmosphere of the painting is very warm. Like
externally colors. Everything's okay, but then there's just this kind of wallowing happening within. So that one really, that one shines like a portrayal of depression, and then you can see like the contrast of it there. Like that one looks very representative. I don't think anything else really
because he did a lot of nature.
Does that? There's a lot of the nature scenes. It's interesting that like the last work he completed was like the field.
The
that was
bales.
Probably some kind of like.
Or stacks of wheat.
He was probably kind of ruminating about going out into that field and putting an end to himself like that.
Something that I found fascinating when you were talking about how he had that burst of, what was it, in 70 days?
Yeah, I think it was...
Like, don't want to get it wrong.
70 paintings and 30 drawings.
Yeah, that made me think of like... you know how sometimes when people have like a chronic illness, they have a burst of energy like before they really go, where like they feel really good, they can get up out of, like if they've been bedridden for months and feeling terrible, maybe they've been going through treatment and things like that, they have like a burst of hours or maybe a day when they've regained all of their old strength, and it can give the family members like a bit of hope. Yeah, false hope. Right. And then that ebbs away and they fade away, they pass away. And like, obviously this is different, but in my own head, I drew that parallel, that similarity, and I just thought that was really interesting.
That makes sense. Were you gonna say something else?
Well, I think with the bipolar, that's particularly kind of an issue, right? Because it's like someone starts having symptoms in one direction, and then you might start to get concerned, but then they start going the other way. They start cycling, and then it looks like they're going back to normal, but they're actually just reversing. Yeah. So that's definitely a problem, and it's like, just with that like treatment back then, the way that we've been able to develop medications and everything else now is also really like, it's impressive that he was at all able to have a career, right? While he was struggling with it, like you can tell like there's that determination to push through it, and like with the support of like family that understands that he's just suffering, and it's not like he wants to be the listless kind of problem that he could be that anyone else can, but I think it's interesting, and it's almost interesting how much you don't really see it in the paintings that way, right? Like they look like a very, like he was very very concentrated on what he was trying to capture, that like everything else kind of like faded away. I don't think there's anything else that really kind of feels like a window into what he was experiencing other than the self-portrait.
Right.
The artist self-portraits are always just really interesting, I think, because you really get to have like that own reflection, right? But I think my favorite by him is the old shoes. I just think it looks really nice, and it has the.
I like that.
They just.
He's kind of sitting there.
Yeah, and it has that kind of like down feeling to it, but it almost feels like in kind of a neutral.
It's almost like you come home from a hard day of work, and you're just taking off your shoes.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is it kind of like it kind of tells that story to you, like you project onto it almost, right? Because that could mean something in a very different way. I think the same thing. I think this another one I really do like is the potato eaters, which apparently one of the more famous ones too.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
This,
I was just looking at them.
It almost doesn't look like his art.
Yeah, the stylistically.
I think this is a retouched image that we're looking at, but again, like that's just kind of like you can see it kind of in a dark way. Like these people are obviously kind of just scraping by. Yeah. But you also can kind of just see like the bright like the family kind of interaction there. It has that kind of duality to it that I think is really.
I like that. Yeah.
It's a really nice kind of controlled style he's got going on.
Yeah, he definitely has his style.
Something that I've heard, and I don't know. Well, I've heard a lot that he wasn't really recognized in his lifetime. Is that true? Do you know?
It seemed like not until like towards the end, right?
Yeah,
he wasn't
not.
Really. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he said he was. Forgot how they used it, but he
accomplished but not recognized.
So people kind of knew and were buying some of his stuff. But I think with recognition, it's more of a like globally all-encompassing. Like he was a great artist. He has now.
It's always so hard to like get yourself out there. But also when he's struggling, like when he's not institutionalized or just combating with his own problems, he's painting. But then that's no time for like PR. Right? So like he does.
There's no social media.
Like a painting tour.
Yeah. He didn't have an agent or anything.
I was thinking of like a book tour, like a book release.
I just imagine a guy with like, want to buy a watch, but then it's like paintings in his trench coat. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, but it only took like a few months after his death for him to gain that widespread recognition. So, which makes me think of, that whole when someone commits suicide and people are like, oh my god, like I knew him, and it becomes a whole like famous thing in and of itself.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that contributed to his fame afterward. The fact that I don't know.
Well, yeah, people feel like the significance of everything once it's gone. Like you feel it, and also like I'm sure like his family and everyone else was looking through his whole body of work like after he passed, and then like that's when you notice like a lot of the like people should see this, right? So yeah, I mean it's just unfortunate that he wasn't ever in a state, and it seems like he wasn't particularly cared with like recognition necessarily. He just wanted to put it out there,
for the people.
But he wasn't trying to make a name for himself, really, right? And he did.
He did.
Incidentally.
He really did.
Yeah. Which is incredible in a way, because I think that's more powerful, because he wasn't aiming for that goal. It was that he was doing what he loved and believed in and what he wanted to do, like at the deepest of his core. Yeah. And people saw that and saw how he put that into his work. And I think that's the dream. Yeah, that's what people like. That's part of why people value his work and have recognized it, is because he so thoroughly put himself into what he was doing. And like he wasn't focused on like being some hotshot artist. I don't know if those words really go together, but you know, like, yeah, he wasn't in it for the fame or the glory.
Definitely. I really liked, when I was reading about it, how much he took from nature too. I think I'm seeing more of a trend with that, just in artists in general, like with Marina's new album. I'm so excited.
Y'all should go check out her new singles. I forgot what they're called.
Handmade Heaven and Superstar.
Yes.
Which I loved. I love Handmade Heaven, which is when she was feeling very overwhelmed by everything, she went out into nature and she wrote that song kind of based on that. So I love, and the music video is gorgeous. She's just out in like the wilderness and the tundra, and there's snow everywhere, and there's like flowers overlaid. Ooh, it's good. Anyway, so let's see. Maybe we can call it.
Yeah. I have to pee so bad. Oh, no. Which is like, it's fine. That's okay.
It's a natural break.
Yes, it's just, my bladder's bursting.
Okay, all right. So let's call it. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Next time, one of you guys is gonna cover something.
We'll have something.
Talking about
fellow.
This doesn't need to be the next episode, but talking about like how people are like, oh, this person was so incredible after someone has committed suicide. Kind of like the aftermath of an event like that. It made me think of the plot for Dear Evan Hansen, which is
that's on our list.
Yeah, that's on our list of things that we want to talk about. So,
and you just saw it.
I just saw it. It's incredible. It made me cry. I mean, I'm always crying, let's be real.
Me too.
So that's not saying much, but I made sure not to mess up my makeup. And no, it was really good, and it touched on a lot of like mental health and mental illness themes in a modern way that was relatable but also sensitive. So yeah, it
kind of reminds me of like, just real quick, like Tyler Joseph's Neon Trees or Neon Gravestones. Sorry, like Neon Trees, isn't that a band?
Yes.
Okay.
It is.
I think so.
Some like alternative. I don't know, whatever.
Anyway, on the newest album, there's a song called Neon Gravestones, and it's like, I could give in, basically, and commit suicide, and people would say how great I was, but then let's appreciate our elders and grandparents who have gone before us and have lived to like tell us about it, kind of thing. Anyway, we'll see.
Thank you so much for joining us.
On Brain Sick.
Brain Sick.
Brain Sick.
All about sick brains.
Hell yeah. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
See you later. Hear you later. You'll hear us, I guess.
Definitely.